Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Podcast on Fifth Ave. It's me, Jordan, with Taylor and Jenna, as always, and we're here to break down some Penguins news, highlights, and just fun stuff in general. So the Penguins played the Blackhawks last night, and eerily similar to Saturday against the Wild, it went to a shootout, and they looked very bad in the shootout. Taylor, I know that you have some fun Penguins shootout facts to share with us. So why don't you hit us with those so we can weep together?
Yeah, I mean, so they're 0-3 in the shootout this season. Not ideal, but I mean, part of it doesn't help that Crosby's out because Crosby has a 40% success rate in the shootout, like throughout his career. But I mean, Gensel, he's another one of their top guys too. You know, career wise, 54.6%. He didn't score on his attempt against Chicago. That would have helped. Letang is another one of their, typically top guys. He's at a 33.8%, success rate throughout his career. He's been in all three shootouts, 0-3. But I mean, the biggest issue is Jarry. Jarry has faced 10 shots in the shootout. He has only stopped 3 of them. And it's hard to, say what exactly is going wrong because, coming into this season, his career save percentage in the shootout was 700, which is really right above league average, what I looked into for goaltenders in the shootout. I mean, he's down to 300 this season. So it's hard to, say what needs to happen. Because he just needs to be better. I mean, some of these guys need to be scoring too. They need Crosby back. But, I mean, Jarry needs to be better. I know some people are like, put DeSmith in cold off the bench, but they can do that legally. That's not against the rules, but I don't think that's the option. They just need Jarry to be better.
Yeah, because okay, yeah, great, you put DeSmith in whatever, but he's not the number one guy. Jarry's still the number one guy, and he needs to figure out what's going on and how to stop shots in the shootout. Like it just. You got to have that be part of your game. Ideally, the Penguins wouldn't allow so many of these games to go to shootouts. I feel like there has been an abnormally high amount of shootouts so far this season. But so I wasn't able to watch the game last night. Jenna, did you catch any of it? What were some of your takeaways from how the team played as a whole? Because obviously Saturday night they imploded in the third period and allowed Minnesota back in. But last night, Jeff Carter scored 2 goals to tie it up. So what are some of the similarities? What were some good things that you saw from the Penguins last night to make that final push?
Well, a game like last night is exactly the type of game you need from Jeff Carter, right? Just with everything. I feel like, the last couple of weeks, obviously, the Penguins have been dealing with COVID on COVID to the point where, it's like, again, we've talked about who they're missing and the team that you could have with all the guys that are missing. Thankfully, we're seeing some updates kind of come through. Ruedel and Pettersson, Taylor, they were back on Wednesday.
Yeah.
There'll be game time decisions reportedly for Thursday's game.
Yeah, that's good.
You're going to need that against the Florida Panthers. My goodness gracious. But that is a game that you need from Jeff Carter where he kind of steps up and you're kind of seeing, I think what's been interesting that I've been noticing is he's starting to develop chemistry with Gensel that he kind of really, really needs, which is huge. Granted, obviously when Crosby comes back, you'd like to assume that Crosby and Gensel will be line mates once again, but that's the type of chemistry they need to develop in case something like this happens where you're without your captain, you're without your star center. You need that guy to step up, and that's exactly what Carter did. I thought the first goal that the two combined for, where Gensel kind of like found Carter, where he got behind Seth Jones, that was beautiful, and that's exactly what he's capable of doing. So they needed a performance like that. Obviously, the Blackhawks with a different coach now, kind of a change in regime type thing. I think before the game, Todd Reardon, who's filling in for Mike Sullivan right now, basically said that, and what they've kind of watched and what they kind of pre-scouted, that Chicago's played a lot stingier on defense. Taylor, obviously you were at the game, because that's something you kind of noticed with that they were a little bit stingier on defense. I mean, this clearly wasn't the same mentality or the same style of play that they had when the Penguins saw them a couple weeks prior.
Yeah, I mean, part of it was just that they came out more energized, too. They had a better start. Carter said he noticed that, too, after the game, that this team just seemed to have a lot more energy, more fight, than they did the last time they saw them. But, yeah, they were stingier defensively, especially on the PK. I mean, through those first 2 power plays the Penguins were being outshot on the power play 2-1. They ended up getting one in the third period where they did get a shot, so they finished 2 in shots on the power play, but again, that's still not good. Yeah, so Chicago, their PK was really strong. Fleury was outstanding. But yeah, I mean, Jeff Carter, it was funny. I mean, you mentioned like the first goal, the one with Gensel, it was beautiful. The setup from Gensel, it wasn't clear, like from watching it, what he was trying to do. Like, was he trying, because he just spun around and threw it in that general direction. Was it supposed to be a shot? Was it supposed to be a pass? And I asked Carter after, like, were you anticipating that kind of setup from Gensel? And he said, we talked about the play, before the drop, before we went out there. And he said that was not what we were trying to do, but I saw him, spin around and throw it. So I just tried to go to the net and get a stick on it. So not planned. That went up, back of the net either way, but good to see from Jeff Carter. That did move him into the top 100 goal scorers in league history. That was career goal 401, 402. And it feels like he hits a new milestone, like a significant milestone once a week. Because when he just played game 1100, he scored, 400 not that long ago in Florida. But it feels like every week we're asking Jeff Carter about like a significant milestone. I asked him what this one meant, to move into the top 100, and he said, it means I'm old, and if I played a lot of hockey, he was like, hey, fair. But yeah, no, good to see from him. Yeah, I mean, because he doesn't seem to be slowing down at his age, 36, much like Avril Lavigne, not slowing down.
Yeah, she just keeps going. However, apparently she's not Avril Lavigne.
Unlike Avril Lavigne, they are not replacing Jeff Carter every couple of years with a body double.
With a clone of Jeff Carter.
Yeah, he's been excellent.
Like aging backwards here with him. I think that might be
maybe that it could be, but he looked good. I did see his goals, and I was at the game Saturday. But how much of an impact is Mike Sullivan's absence on the bench having on this team? Because obviously you want your head coach to be there. And is that something that is affecting the way that this team is playing throughout the course of the game? Yes, no, maybe. Jenna, would you say that?
I think a little bit, because I think, obviously Reardon has been in this system for a while. Obviously he, was in Washington for a little bit and then came back, and he's worked so closely with Sullivan for so long. So obviously a lot of the key components of what the Penguins do kind of stay the same. But I think, I don't want to equate it to like having a substitute teacher, but that's a little sort of tiny bit of the feel that it has for me. And maybe I'm totally entirely wrong with that. So like, that's just kind of what you see. But like, obviously with different people in that role, things are going to change a little bit. I think if anything too, they want to, again, next man up mentality, kind of step up and say, all right, we're without him. What are we going to do to prove that, hey, we're still a very solid team. We can still play within our system. We're still very good and capable of winning games, closing out games, things along those lines. It's just wild to me. And I think it's like what's it going to be like when we see this team with what we thought this team was going to be from the start of the season, obviously before the Sid wrist surgery news, but it's going to be interesting to see what this team can do when they're all there and when their head coach is there. I feel like we keep talking about that, but I think that's going to be the most fascinating part for me, because it's just been so interchangeable, and we're a month into the season now.
Yeah, which is crazy. The fact that it just flew. Oh my God, it feels like they were just opening up the season in Tampa Bay, but now here we are a month in. And I feel like we would all probably agree that they're doing pretty okay given the circumstances with the amount of guys who've gone through COVID protocol and the key injuries to guys like Sid and Gino, who's out for at least another month. Taylor, do we have any updates on him? Is he still December at the earliest?
Yeah, they haven't given an updated timeline, but he has been back on the ice for a while now. They have him on a schedule where he's on the ice a couple of days a week, off the ice a couple of days a week. So that's good to see from him, but it still seems like, another month. But yeah, they are last in the Metro Division right now, but the Metro Division is very tight. So I don't know if you could say better than expected. Now, if these 3 points that they left on the table in the shootouts, if they had those, they would be in fourth place. With a game in hand over the Capitals. So, again, it comes back to the shootouts like we were talking about at the beginning, that they really just need to be better. Obviously, would not be a concern in the playoffs because there are no playoffs, but if the Metro Division is going to be – there are no shootouts in the playoffs, but if the Metro Division is going to be this tight, you might not get to the playoffs if you keep leaving these points on the table, especially now that it's going back to the old playoff format where it's not the top four in each division. The wild cards are back, so you might have, two Atlantic teams in those wild card spots. Yep. Because that is a very strong division too. So, all in all, you can't leave these points on the table.
No, and they're at such a premium too, obviously, with the way that the division is right now. But it's just, I guess looking at Saturday's game and Tuesday's game to me are kind of two different, because Saturday, obviously, you blow the lead, you kind of give things up. You didn't need to go to overtime, whereas Tuesday, really resilient performance. You're down 2-0. You find your way to come back. You force overtime. You make it to the shootout. But they just need like that one or two more, those little extra plays, which probably the small, minuscule perspective of things don't seem like a lot. But again, that can be the difference between fourth place and last place in the division.
Yeah, I mean, their effort in the third period against Chicago was great because they outshot them 20-5, completely different team, from the first two periods. But just a shame that they couldn't finish it out in the shootout because that effort in the third really was impressive.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we can kind of take a look at how the division is shaping up through 1 month. So we'll be right back. And we're back, and we have all pulled up the division standings on our phones. I don't think it's surprising to anybody that Carolina is doing really well. Obviously, they've been trending upward for the past several years, and Rod Brindamore is just a fantastic coach. The real shock, though, we were kind of talking about that in the break, is the New York Rangers, second in the division. What's going on with that? They have 17 points. Is there any explanation for this? I know that they also have been trending in the right direction. They've drafted really well. They've developed really well. They've made some really key off-season moves and in-season moves and signings to keep guys like Chris Kreider. But I feel like I was expecting them to at least be another year or two away from being this level of competitive. So what are they doing right?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I haven't watched a ton of the Rangers just because the Penguins haven't played them yet. But they have just a lot of young guys coming up. I mean, Adam Fox, obviously, Kaka, who are just taking that next step. Their goaltending, and then Panarin. They just have a lot of these key pieces that are finally starting to come together that they've been collecting over the years. But yeah, I mean, they did make some off-season acquisitions, notably to get tougher, with like Reeves and Jared Tenorti. I don't think that's why they are where they are. Reeves, just from seeing like the videos of him, I don't know, it seems like he's a really good locker room presence for them. He has like a tradition, I guess now, the way he like leads them onto the ice, like he screams like release us after like whoever like the goalie is in net, and I guess it gets the guys hyped. All right, I don't think that's why they're second in the division right now, but I think it's more of these young guys, finally coming together and just taking the next step.
Yeah. And you do wonder how long it'll be consistent. Like, I think that was everybody's biggest question was like, okay, they're going to be good. They're going to go on some stretches here. You feel like you always see that in the NHL. I feel like we always talk about the Sabres doing that. It's like, oh, are the Sabres good? They're winning a couple in a row. And then it's, can they sustain that? Is this sustainable? I don't entirely know. I think there's been a lot of surprises the first couple months. Especially, will the Rangers be able to kind of keep this momentum going will kind of be the biggest question for me. But Jordan, you touched on Carolina earlier. I mean, somebody like you got to hold on. You got to be able to catch them at least. I feel like they're just, what are they? They're 10-0-1, 11. Yeah. 10-1.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it was one of those, you kind of knew they were going to be at least a cup contender, at least a contender for the top of the division. And now you're just like, wow, they are playing really, really, really good hockey. Freddie Anderson has been fantastic for them too, which, they totally shifted their goaltenders in the offseason. That was a big thing for them. But I mean, it is, the Penguins and the Islanders are tied at the bottom. That to me is just like, I don't know if anybody would have said that at the beginning of the season. Yeah. It's like, hey, you knew Carolina was going to be up top, but would you have said the Islanders and the Penguins would be tied at the bottom of the division right now?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Islanders would have finished. Well, I mean, it's still very early. They still could, but it would be near the top just because they really didn't make a whole lot of changes. Obviously, they lost Eberle to Seattle, but they're also getting back Anders Lee this season. I mean, so that alone kind of offsets that. They're getting back their captain. I don't know, but to me, the most surprising thing is Columbus right now being tied for fourth.
Yeah,
they were. Were they not supposed to be tanking for Shane Wright? People are expecting Shane Wright to end up in Columbus, and they're 7-3. Again, I don't. Elvis has been really good for them. Elvis Merzlikins. They have Patrick Laine, seemingly getting it together. Yegor Chinakhov, who we've talked about before, the Columbus, they big brained the first round of the draft. He was the guy that no one had heard of in Russia when they announced it, and kind of sent the TSN guys into a panic because they're shuffling through the papers. They're like, I think he plays right wing because Chinakhov was projected to go in the third or fourth round, and Columbus took him in the first round. But I guess they knew what they were doing because he's playing well for them. So I don't know. That's one where I'm like, is this really sustainable? Because I feel like Columbus is still going to bottom out at some point because, I don't know. I wouldn't rule out them getting Shane Wright, who's supposed to go number one in the draft. But that's surprising.
I think it's fun too, just because again, we get back into a normal schedule this year. So it's not just the same teams playing each other 8 times. As much fun as that was last year, it's like, all right, we do get to see other teams. We get to see Seattle. We get to see Vegas. You get to see Detroit and, all of these teams versus, let's play the same teams 8 times again.
Or Florida, they played Florida, and that was the first time they had seen Patrick Hornquist, and I feel like he's been gone longer than that,
right?
Or Nick Bjugstad. That was the first time they've played Nick Bjugstad since he was traded too when they played them. And I was like, I feel like Nick Bjugstad's been gone for 3 years. Just that's what the schedule's been like. But
it's been super disorienting for sure. It's crazy.
Yeah. In Florida also, I feel like we just have to talk about the league as a whole a little bit, but my God.
Yeah, they're quick. Oh my goodness, and overwhelming to play against. And that's who we play.
That's
Thursday, correct?
Thursday. It's the third game in a 3-game road trip for them. The first one was against the Rangers in New York. The Rangers went up 4-0. The Panthers did end up kind of battling back with 3 goals. They didn't force overtime, but still interesting to see. But then, the next night they play New Jersey and they lose 7-3. So I don't know what to expect to see because the Panthers went into that game against New York undefeated in regulation. They were 10-0-1.
Yeah.
So, and now they lose 2 real stinkers to Metro Division teams. I don't know what to expect to see from them when they come into Pittsburgh on Thursday. It should be interesting. You have to figure they're going to maybe have a little bit more energy after having these 2 bad losses. But and that game where they lost 7-3, Spencer Knight was in net. It wasn't even Bobrovsky, who's been kind of unpredictable. So who knows what to expect.
Yeah, this feels like, and maybe it's just me, this kind of feels like it has the makings of like a 7-3 game the other way.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah.
Just like, I mean, you know how talented this team is, and obviously the Penguins have talent, but again, you're still kind of working people back. We don't know if Ruhwedel and Pettersson will play, how they're going to be in terms of them playing. Obviously, they cleared the cardiac screening. What was that, Tuesday? I don't even know.
Tuesday was the first day back on the ice. They had their cardiac screening, then skated with Ty Hennis. Well, no, Ty Hennis was on the trip, but they skated on their own in Cranberry. And then, so one full practice. I don't know. We saw, with Aston Reese, with his symptoms, it took him, a couple practices to get back. Letang, who is a superhuman, just had the one full practice, came back. It sounds like Ruhwedel and Pettersson, their symptoms were very mild. Pettersson said it felt like it was cold. Ruhwedel, he really just lost, I think, his taste and his smell. So it doesn't sound like Aston Reese, it sounded like he was wiped out for, several days. So I guess hopefully for them that this one practice is all they need. They're going to skate Thursday morning, and then they'll make a determination then whether or not they can get into the game.
Yeah.
Okay. The only other team that I definitely wanted to touch on league-wide is, of course, Edmonton, because they're sitting atop their division with Connor McDavid just looking more and more superhuman every single day. I can't say that I pay too close of attention to them because I don't really care about the Oilers, but the fact that they're 9-2 right now, and granted, they're not in a division with a ton of really hefty talent, but they are with Vegas, and Calgary's doing really well. Do they look like a team that can sustain this level of success long term this season? Taylor, what do you think based on what you know of the Oilers?
I mean, I think they'll win the division, but then I think they'll probably also be like a first, second round exit. Probably much like the Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs, they'll probably turn it around too. I just don't know if they have the pieces to make a long playoff run. They have, the stars, but beyond that, the supporting cast is not that strong.
Yeah, kind of weak.
Yeah, it's tough because you obviously want to rest your laurels on McDavid and Draisaitl, but how often and how frequently can you do that when you need I forget who it was in net for Edmonton, but wasn't that the goal the other day where he basically shot it into his own net as he was trying to clear it? And I want to say it was Calgary, or maybe I
saw the highlight. I know you're talking about.
Yeah. Go look that up. I want to say, this is going to drive me nuts.
The McDavid goal, the one that looked like he's playing a completely different sport than everyone else because of what he's able to do. That was against New York, where he just went through four guys like it's nothing. It's like McDavid and the Rangers or whoever that, I think it was the Rangers.
Yeah.
They're in different leagues.
Yeah.
But again, he can do that, all regular season, but does the team have the pieces to make a run right now? I don't know.
Probably not.
Cody Ceci, they got Cody Ceci, so
there is that.
Penguins legend Cody Ceci.
He's the only piece you need, really. We're talking about Connor McDavid. Cody Ceci will single-handedly carry them to the cup. Watch, book it. Let's take another break. We'll be right back. And we are back once again with the updates that you really have been waiting for. Mustaches. Which just really quick, we were talking once again in the break. Mustaches are back. It's not just Jason Zucker and Brian Rust who are doing this mustache thing for the month of November. They're trendy again, and we don't know why.
I don't know why.
Not a clue.
I'm very, very, very confused, and I wish it would stop, but it won't. So I guess we just have to find ways to cope, because am I the only one who is like, please make the mustaches stop?
Well, that's like remember Ricola came into training camp with like a crazy one, and like I remember we're all looking at him like, why did he do that? And I think that was the first question he got, like when he spoke during training camp, like what's up with the mustache? I don't know. And anytime Ricola speaks with us, with the media, it's just a really weird experience because he's very low key. He's funny, but I don't know. It's just hard to get a read on him. Like he doesn't show many emotions, but he's like just to give people something to talk about. We're like, what? Like he makes these jokes, but like it's just very matter of fact. Like he grew a mustache as a conversation starter. It doesn't make any sense, but yeah. So we're seeing a lot for like Movember, but. Yeah. Well, then I guess also Mustache Boy, Dominic Simone and Casey DeSmith, current Mustache Boys for the next 10 days. But also, just mustaches are back. So I guess it's not that bad to lose the Mustache Boy shootout because then you're just trendy.
Yeah.
I'm all for the Movember because I feel like you see that a lot in the hockey world. I don't see it as much. I feel like it is very hockey centric, maybe. I don't see it in football. You know, I honestly, we need like Movember across sports, like just like level the playing field. But it is really, really cool. We were kind of talking before with what Brian Rust and Jason Zucker are doing. Basically, they're kind of doing a little head-to-head competition for Movember. For Rust, it's really kind of close to his heart. His dad, Steve, overcame prostate cancer, so he wanted to get involved. And then I guess Zucker came to Rust and was like, you want to do something? Let's team up against each other. Let's raise some money. So they're kind of like, I mean, Taylor, you're at practices and you're in the press conferences a little more. You're seeing kind of these guys, like they're trying to woo their teammates. They're trying to be like, yo, like, come on, donate to my side of things.
Yeah, because they're selling these T-shirts. It's kind of a competition who can sell the most shirts with the proceeds benefiting, this kind of cancer research. But then the loser in the T-shirt race also has to donate money. Right now I'm looking at it, like Zucker is up to 253 shirts. Russ is up to 383, so it looks like Russ is going to win. But like we were saying, like Kapanen talk, and he's like, they're trying to convince me to come to their side. And like we're seeing on the Penguins social media, like Jeff Carter posing in his Russ shirt in front of Russ Hall, endorsing Brian Rust. This picture of Zucker shaking Rodriguez's hand. Rodriguez looks very serious in this picture, like endorsing Jason Zucker in the mustache race. So I don't know. I voted third party for Ricola, so I don't think it's going to make much of a dent. But
why does that have like big Jason Zucker for town council vibes right there?
It really does. I don't know.
Oh my God. We make those shirts.
I saw his wife making fun of his mustache on like Twitter, Instagram, or something. That's like awesome. That. His wife is really funny. Carly Zucker, if you look her up on Twitter. Yeah. I actually followed her on Twitter like before they even traded for him just because she's so funny. And
she's hilarious.
Well, I remember when they traded for him, his first game here, she tweeted something. She tweeted like, off to I guess she had Brett Michaels tickets that night, and then she tweeted like, off to Pittsburgh for the only man who could get me away from Brett Michaels ... Sidney Crosby. I remember like when I introduced myself like to Zucker, I was like, hey, I love your wife's Twitter. I loved her tweet today. And he's like, what did she tweet? Like I told him. He's like, oh my God. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, she's really funny. But
speaking of wives' Twitters, Jeff Carter's wife.
The fruit snacks finally arrived. She posted a picture. I can pull it up. She posted alongside their dog for scale. No idea what kind of dog that is, but it was like 3 dogs worth of fruit snacks.
3 dogs worth of fruit snacks.
That's a lot of fruit snacks.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's so funny. They sent him like a massive case of fruit snacks alongside this dog.
Oh, I love it.
So
I love it. So do you have a chance to use a dog for reference, for size reference? Do it.
Yeah. She said dog and pick for size reference. Again, don't know what kind of dog that is. so no frame of reference.
Some kind of Shih Tzu or something.
I don't know, but
hard to say.
Good for Jeff Carter. He gets those fruit snacks, and then he goes on to move into the top 100 goal scorers in NHL.
Big week for him.
History. So big week for Welches. Like, look at them.
Yeah. My God, they are very blessed.
There's a correlation. However, all of a sudden, Welch's snacks arrive. He surpasses, the league's top 100. Just saying.
It's a beautiful partnership.
Yeah,
I love it. But yeah, it's awesome what they're doing with that little mustache face-off thing. That sounded so degrading. That little mustache thing that they're doing, it's so adorable. The way that they're raising money for those causes is really incredible. And I think it's so cool when players get creative and have fun with it too, because it once again kind of opens the door for us to see their personalities. And I think that is really awesome. Before we go, Taylor, can you just give us a quick update on the prospects, how they're looking in the AHL, how guys are playing elsewhere across the Penguins organization? What's going on with all of those guys? Honestly,
the biggest highlights elsewhere, not in Wilkes-Barre, Wheeling, have been the two goalies over in Europe, Kalle Klang and then Joel Blomqvist. They're both in backup roles in their respective countries, Klang in Sweden and Blomqvist in Finland, but the games they've gotten in, they've done really well. Blomqvist, he's as of Wednesday, he's played in 4 games. He's only allowed 2 goals. He went like 134 minutes straight without allowing a single goal. Very good to see from him. But again, both of them, they're kind of behind more established veteran players in their teams. Both will be looking. So both made the World Junior rosters last year. Neither of them played. They were backups or third goaltenders. Now, and they were underaged for that. It's a U20 tournament. They were 18. So accomplishment on its own to even make that tournament. They will be looking to make the tournament as the starters this year. The 4 Nations tournament between Czech Republic, Finland, Sweden, and Russia, I want to say, gets underway in 2 days. And that's just kind of a pre-tournament for the World Juniors where these guys will look to fight for those spots, and both Blomqvist and Klang will be playing in those tournaments. So
nice.
It'll be interesting to see from them. But in Wilkes-Barre, so I don't know, all leading up to this season, I'm talking about Felix Herbert. Everyone needs to start following Felix Herbert. I did like a one-on-one with him in development camp. I still think like no one was taking it seriously. Like, oh, this little 5'8" guy, AHL contract. He's currently leading the team in goals. Like, he's tied for the team leading goals. So
awesome.
When we're recording, Wilkes-Barre is about to play, and he got bumped up to the top line. He was playing in a third line, fourth line role leading up to this, so limited minutes, still leading the team in goals with 4 in 8 games. Got bumped up to the top line now. So who's surprised? Not me, probably everyone else, because they didn't listen to me. Felix Herbert reminds me a lot of Max Talbot. He's very feisty, little guy. When he was on the fourth line, he's the one getting into the fights with like bigger. He's like actually gotten into fights a couple times now, and it's like he only fights guys that were like 6'2", and he's again 5'8".
Oh my
God! And I remember
I
asked about that at development camp, and I was like, "You're only fighting guys like a lot bigger than you." And he's like, honestly, he's like, "I don't look." He's like, if I see them hit like one of our guys, I'm just in there. Like,
wow.
So, I don't know. I just love his energy. JD Forrest, the head coach, calls him a water bug. Very hard on pucks. He's the guy that if they're going for a 6-on-5 situation, pulling their goalie and trying to tie the game up, if he's not already on the ice, he's going to be that 6th guy coming onto the ice. And it's paid off for them before, where I think the first time they had a 6-on-5 situation, they put him out there, and he scored the goal to tie it. So he's tied for the team leading goals with Valtteri Puustinen. Again, not very surprising, and again another undersized guy. I think. He's coming from Finland. It's his first year over in North America. I think there are maybe concerns about how he would adjust to the game, just, dealing with the physical side of the game, because the North American style is a lot more physical than Europe, and he is a smaller guy. He's very fast, very skilled, but how is he going to adjust to that? Seems to be doing just fine. He's been one of their best forwards. He's also on the top line down there. I know Sullivan said during the preseason, they're concerned with maybe how he'd handle the defensive game. Just coming over, JD Forrest said he's been making progress every day with that. Hasn't really seemed like an issue. He's making plays, breaking up passes from opponents. So, and that's the kind of stuff they need. Because Puustinen was a 7th round pick. Robert undrafted on an AHL contract. They haven't had very many high draft picks, and so they need these guys to kind of come out of nowhere, really pay off. But good to see from them. Honestly, Hollander, a little underwhelming, I'll say. Poulin, Legray, I'm pretty sure when we're talking, they each have 2 goals. They've been all right. Poulin doesn't look that fast. Legray definitely does look fast. And I did talk to Legray the other day just about adjusting, and he said for him, the biggest thing coaching staff wants him to work on is just his play in the defensive zone, making smarter decisions. But overall, JD Forrest seems really impressed with his game and Poulin's game too. But I don't know, Legray was so funny. Like I like asking these guys going pro for the first time, like, just what is it like not living with billets anymore? Because billets, they'll cook for you, maybe do your laundry if you're with a billet family that does that.
Oh my goodness.
Living on your own, because sometimes the guys will be like, I don't know how to do my laundry and like and stuff like that. But I asked Legray, and he's like, oh, it's great. I guess he said he knows how to cook. Like his billets taught him how to cook. But he said, living on your own now, he's like, it's great. He's like, you can do whatever you want. He's like, him and his roommate, same hood. He's like, we watch Netflix during dinner. He's like, normally with your billet, you'll sit around the table like as a family. And he's like, well, we watch Netflix during dinner. And then he's
God.
He's like, you can do whatever you want. And he's like, you can, like, if you want to stay 2 hours late after practice, you can do that. You can do whatever. So, like, Legray's big, living as a pro is just staying at the rink for a couple hours later than he needs to, and then watching Netflix after cooking dinner.
That's
a party animal.
His work ethic, JD Forrest spoke really highly about Legray, his work ethic, too, how he's asking for video, asking for questions, really asking all those kinds of questions. And the time I talked to him, Legray, it was after practice, and I had to wait, a long time because he wasn't getting off the ice. So I don't know, maybe another Teddy Bluger, because Teddy Bluger is always the last guy off the ice. P.O. Joseph is like that too. When he's up here, I remember during when he was up last season, a couple of times, the Zamboni doors would open and P.O. would go over and negotiate with the Zamboni driver, can I just get a couple more minutes? And then a trainer or an equipment person would come out and be like, P.O., you got to get off the ice. He's the only one out there well after everyone. So I don't know, love to see that kind of effort from the young guys. But yeah, Legray seems like he's another one of that
awesome.
type. So and then Lindbergh, I have to mention the goalie that they as a free agent, AHL goaltender of the month for the month of October.
Awesome.
He went 4-0 in October, crazy numbers. He did get pulled right in his first start in November. Was not his fault. 4 goals he let in. The one went off of a defenseman. The other 3 were power play goals that really he could not be faulted on, because somehow Wilkes-Barre's PK left Providence wide open for all 3 goals. So Lindbergh, another really great start. So a lot of things to look forward to down in Wilkes-Barre, Europe, wherever this year.
Love that. That's super exciting. And Felix Robert. Put him
everyone's
on your
start listening to me. Read my stories. Look up who this kid is. I feel like I'm still the only one talking about him. Because guys have come into the organization on AHL contracts before and earned NHL contracts, become NHLers. Carter Rowney comes to mind. Casey DeSmith did it. Casey DeSmith came into the organization on an ECHL contract. Started out as Wheeling's 3rd goaltender for a couple of months. So he didn't even play his first pro game until December. So these guys that come in kind of under the radar, they can become full-time NHLers. Yeah. And Felix Robert, probably next one to get an NHL contract. If you ask me, he's definitely earned it.
All right. Keep an eye on him. As always, everybody, this has been awesome. Thanks for listening. to another episode of Podcast on Fifth Ave. Make sure you're subscribed wherever it is you're listening, and join us again next Thursday at 2 p.m. for another episode. I'll see you then.